Hi everyone, it's your girl Mely. Welcome to my channel. Today I have a special guest, my friend Laura, to talk about a hot topic: should you befriend your coworkers? Before we get into that, I'm gonna let Laura introduce herself and maybe talk about how we met, because I'm really excited to have her here. We haven't chatted for a while, and we usually try to get together once a month, but life happens, so we haven't been doing that as much as we want to. So yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm so honored that you referred to me as a friend, not an acquaintance. If you haven't seen her past episode, I think you should because, wow, I'm honored. But anyways, my name's Laura. Other people call me Laura. They call me at work LBR. It's just, I'm really honored to be here on your podcast. This is something that I had envisioned that she actually talked about on her way to one of our appointments, special appointments. And I just remember it was just a couple months ago that you you were envisioning this whole podcast. You had all these ideas, and now like to actually be a part of it, to actually be a part of something, I think that's great. And I admire this whole setup because wow, like this is too much technology for me. But anyways, yeah, we had decided to discuss this topic like a month ago, and because of the weather and all that stuff, it just got pushed back. And then I don't have a babysitter, so it just makes it a little bit more difficult. So yeah, anyways, here we are about a month later, we finally make this happen. But I think that before we start talking or discussing our topic, I wanted to say, I think before we do that, we should give our own perspectives into how we started hanging out. And I want to take us back all the way to high school. Well, let's rewind. Me and Melissa went to the same school, same elementary, middle school, and high school. But we never really talked at all. I don't think we even played together. And then it wasn't until one time that we ended up being in the same class. We were taking art with Mr. Holmes in high school. That I don't know how we ended up being in like the same group, or we were sitting in the same table, and we just started, I think, sharing a little bit too much personal stuff. And that I realized, like, wow, like this girl has like almost the same life struggles as me. And I was like, oh my God, like I think we just kind of bonded over that. And I think from there we just started talking more. And then it got to the point where I realized that you actually live like super close to me. And then you invited me to your house, and then I met your mom and I met your dad. And then I remember Ninel was really small and your baby brother was still not even in the picture yet. And then since then I feel like we kind of drifted apart, because then we went to college, and then we would kind of like hang out again, and did our little partying here and there, and drifted again. And then we came back together, and it was either tú or yo kind of reaching out, and
to go hiking, to do something random,
hiking, and
which we haven't done in a long time.
It's good now. I don't think my knees can do it anymore.
I just bought some knee braces. I'll let you borrow one of them.
And I'm like, and then here we are now, these professional women, and now here we are again, just kind of taking it next level, I feel.
I know.
But I'm curious to see or hear your perspective. Like, what do you remember? Because if I'm sure a lot of people know, I was very, very shy. And just even being here right now, I am definitely out of my comfort zone. I am definitely not like a public speaker. Like, I'm very much nervous right now. So
yeah,
if I am saying too many ands, or you hear me like making weird noise with my mouth, I'm sorry, but can't help it.
I have filmed a lot of videos and I still say Like the other day I did one in Spanish and I said este. which I think is like the equivalent of them. I'm like, oh, and I cut it all out. So if you watch my videos, you might say like, oh no, she doesn't really say that much or
Make sure you count how many times she says it, and then drop it in the comments.
Yeah, I just cut it out because I'm like, oh my gosh. So I don't think I ever get used to just making it flow nicely.
Yeah,
I use editing for that. Well, I remember. I don't really remember like when we met. Like we knew each other, but I don't remember like, oh, it was in 3rd grade. I know in middle school we did basketball. And we have some pictures together then.
That's right. I took my camera and I took pictures of everybody.
We did like our own little photo shoot with Valerie, like on the side. I have a few of those, like doing some cheer moves. I remember that. But yeah, I think the time that we connected the most was in high school, and like you said, like family stuff, and then like college stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we've always kind of like came back together at some point. Mm-hmm. Which is nice. Which, if you watch my last video, as Laura said, talking about friendships, like you're one of the people that I mentioned because I'm like, like it's somebody that like I'm able to connect with, and we've talked about like work stuff, personal stuff, mm-hmm. And there's not a lot of people like that. Like on this topic of like your coworkers and your friends, whether your coworkers should be your friends.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, and I'm like, there's a difference between like you as my friend and my coworker as my friend, because I've left places that I've worked, and some of those people, like I've noticed, like thinking about it today, I'm like, they were just temporary friendships because, I left, ya no me hablaron, and I'm like, oh dang, I thought we were kind of like clicking or that we bonded. Exactly. And then not once did they like reach out to me. Or, and I'm the person that I'm like, I've wanted to reach out to certain people because I'm like, oh, I thought we were friends, or I thought we were cool. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, they never did. So I'm like, okay. So it's very interesting, like that temporary friendship, that you have at certain places. And there are some people that I feel like, oh, they are still my friends. But, but if you watch my other video after this, not to just throw it out there, but I take that like as a sign, mm-hmm. like, are they still talking to me, and maybe I shouldn't have been friends with him. I don't know. That's why, we wanted to talk about that today.
And I think that's the key word there is temporary friendship, because I am very much, I think we have very different opinions in that. I am very much of they're not your friends. Mm-hmm. And I think I typically have a wall up, and wherever I've gone, like if you really get to know me, I feel that you really get to know another side more than just like, oh, she's really shy, casi no habla. Like, because I really do. I talk a lot. And when me and Melissa get together, we will literally talk like the whole way, whatever we're doing. Mm-hmm. So, and I like to think I'm funny. I mean, I'm a clown, and but not a lot of people get to see that side of me. Mm-hmm. So, and I think at work, like, I don't know, like, no confío en mucha gente. Mm-hmm. So, para mí, like, no son mis amigos.
I think we are different in that way. So when you go to like a new place, right? Because the job that you're in, you haven't been in it your whole adult life, right? Yeah. You had other jobs. Have you one switched up the way that you do things, or like how have you gone into it, like your mindset when you start somewhere new? Because now, whenever you start, people automatically are like, oh, do you have Facebook? Oh, do you have Snapchat?
Yes, we gotta talk about that.
So there's like that piece, and I know we do things differently. And just before we started this video, I'm like, oh, like there's a way that I have done things, and the way that I'm like, I should be doing things.
Yes. I don't think I mentioned this, but I am a nurse, and my first real professional job, I pretty much worked by myself. I would do home visits, but it was just me and my tablet in my car. So the times that I would get to actually talk with my coworkers, it was like when we had our monthly meetings, and that was it. And it was very like superficial, like, oh, how are you doing? Oh, I need help with like, these wound care orders or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, but that changed when I decided to leave that job and be at the current one I'm at right now. And that's one of the main things my husband told me. He's like, okay, are you sure you want to make the change? Because, You're here by yourself. You don't have to deal with any of the drama. And now you're going to go and be in a work environment where, there's 5+ nurses on a shift in addition to the other staff that work there. So but see, what I'm saying is like, I am typically very like, straight face. I think sometimes maybe I do have like a resting bitch face. I don't know. But some people have said that like I look mean, that I'm just too serious. But that's just how I carry myself. And then I feel that once I get... Well, hold on. Let's back up. But I'm also like an observer. So I very much, not like in the creep status where I'm just like, a ver qué veo, like, what's she eating? No. Pero I'm an observer, and I like to see how you carry yourself, with your interaction with your coworkers, y lo más importante para mí es cómo eres cuando esa persona no está y si tienes algo malo que decir de ella. So, and that to me, like, it's all these things that are running in my head that I'm like, okay, I just start analyzing, like, okay, is this a trustworthy person? Is this someone that I would even consider a friend? Would I come to this person if I needed help with something? So yeah, I kind of like to distance myself. Y ya que más o menos empiezo a mirar, like, okay, how are these people really at work? Then I feel que me dan como like the vibe to be around them. And then I feel like then we just kind of hit it off, and then we're friends at work. No more than that. So
that's another difference, like friends at work versus just friends.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned that about like observing, because I know that has kicked me in the butt. Because at the place, that I worked, and I've told you about this, that like the place that I got bullied. And I'm like, now thinking back, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
You were
like,
too trusting.
I was too trusting, because I was like, I didn't even like think about how conniving people can be. Yes. I think it was during that like...
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, pero te tengo que decir, cuando eres la new girl, todos te van a decir, oh, hi, nice to meet you, and stuff like that. And then you're like, oh, wow, like, this person's really nice. Like, wow, like, because that's how I felt. But then cuando pasa el tiempo, you're like, oh my God, like, ella es una... Y también lo que pienso es que todas estas personas, tarde o temprano, like, ellas solitas se dejan ver, like, how they really are. So, sorry to interrupt you, but I feel
you're right. Because that time, like, I mean, I'm not going to say that till this day I regret it, but, like, that's one thing that I was like... Gosh dang it, like, Mely, like, you should have known. And I just, like, I was too trusting right off the bat. And then as soon as I told this person, like, something, like, against what they wanted me to do, then, de allí cambió la cosa. And it was just, like, a horrible experience. And ever since then, I would like to say that I was a little bit better about, like, who I was trusting and who, like... And that person, like, I wouldn't say they were my friend, but I think it was that same, like, idea of, like, just going into it and being open, I guess, to people being my friends, people being nice to me, and not realizing, like, dang, I did not know them to begin with. And I think that's really important, like, wherever you're starting, like, to get a feel for the people, get a feel of, like you said, who they are, because no vas a saber en esos días.
Yeah,
so bad.
If you're still in high school and you're listening to this, I mean, if you thought high school was high school, like, no. When you're out in the professional world, it's like high school all over again. And I don't know, I mean, drama is drama anywhere, but I feel like some people just feed off of it, and some people really enjoy it. Some people like being bullies at work, and... No, like, I'm not for that. Like, I just like to go with the mentality of, like, I'm here to do my work. Like, that's something I've always said, like, everywhere I go. I'm like, I'm not here to make friends. If I do make friends, great. But I'm like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make my money, do my job, and, kind of get along with everybody. Pero yo sé que también yo no le voy a caer bien a todos. But I think as long as you just kind of keep to yourself, do your own thing.
Yeah.
No te metas en el drama, no te metas en los chismes de los demás, because that's what they want. That's what they want, to get your opinion, and then para que después vayan y le digan a la otra persona, oh no, well, Melissa said this, and that's what I don't like, and that's what I'm like, no, your coworkers at work are not your friends.
Yeah.
But I have
you broken the rules?
I've broken the rule. I was just gonna say that. I have to say que I've probably let 1-2 people get a little close. Like I have invited someone to like my daughter's birthday party. And you know, because she also has a little girl and I want my daughter to socialize también because she's an only child. And then I have another one que, you know, we have actually exchanged phone numbers and we'll be sending each other like just some hilarious, you know, funny Instagram videos, or she'll send me some TikToks. Pero hasta allí. I have not broken my rule though of adding them on Facebook. At my other job, tenía a todos, from including my boss. And I don't know about you, but at least for me, like I like to also be careful about what I post, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like my boss is on there. But ahora I'm like, no, I'm like, I changed my job, so I was like, I'm not gonna have anyone on my social media. I only have one on my Instagram, pero es nomás una. But other than that, like nada de ahí, like nothing. And I hear and I've heard it, and they've asked like, oh, do you have Facebook? And I'll be like, I'll just kind of brush it off and be like, yeah, but you won't be able to find me. Or I'll be like, no, you know, I don't really log on Facebook often. Pero pienso que es mejor así porque, like, sometimes at work, I'll be like, oh, yeah, did you see what she posted? And I'm like, geez, like, even lo que pones, like, you know, you're discussing it here at work. So, I don't know. I just don't like that. I feel que my lo que yo quiero poner on my social media is mine, y lo que at work is like a whole other person.
Yeah, because shouldn't affect, I mean, it's not affecting who you are at work, right? If you're a good worker, you can be
true.
borracha todo el año, and, you know, esa parte. But, like, it shouldn't have to bring it into work.
Yeah. And
unless you're drunk at work, then pues ese es otro pedo. But.
Yeah. Pero the way también como pienso is like, okay, ponte a pensar como tu doctor. Y que supieras like, oh, you know, he just got drunk, like he was just smashed last Saturday, and then you're like, okay, pero this is the doctor that's going to be doing surgery on me. It really brings down your credibility or your professionalism. And that's why I think que por eso like no puedes tener esas personas on your social media, porque te van a mirar diferente. And maybe you're a good worker, pero
it's kind of like
people are gonna be like,
it stains like your image a little bit.
Y no digo que te tienes que preocupar, ay, que qué va a decir la gente y todo eso, pero yo pienso que cuando ya eres una, you know, you're out in the real world and you're trying to make a career, like, en realidad sí tienes que pensar un poquito más about your actions and stuff like that. So,
which I think this is what you're saying, right? You shouldn't become friends with people at work. I agree. But at the same time, like, I'm probably the worst rule breaker. If that was my rule, I've broken it way too many times. I know. It's just, I don't know what it is. Like, I like making friends. I think that's part of my personality. And
even though, you know, like, what my husband says, que eres bien platicadora, and he's one of the people that says like, ay, me cae muy bien your friend, and I think like you're just so easy to start a conversation with, like, just off the bat. And I think that's what I admire about you and people like you. Pero I'm just more like,
no, but I think you have to have some level of that, you know, just if you think about like Facebook, right? I would friend people, but what I've done over the years, like, I have been more selective of like, who do I add? And then of course, like, I don't add my boss, and I actually will go, and if I know my boss has a Facebook, I will block them. So then they don't see any of my stuff. Or they don't even see my profile pop up. I do have a lot. I mean, people that follow me on here, they know that I have social media pages. But again, that's like specific stuff that if anybody would see it, like, it wouldn't matter. But like on my personal profile, like, I will post certain things, like on Facebook and stuff. But I have made, like, I have a really good friend that I, you know, made through work. And there are a few other girls que también that I consider them my friend. I don't know now, like, because since I've left, I haven't, like, you said, it's kind of those temporary where I thought we were close, but, like, now I'm like, pues ni me buscan, like, ya tengo, I don't know, más de medio año que ni dicen,
like you left
how
your
are
other
you?
job, right?
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, are they really my friends? Like, do they really care? Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, but no, they're not.
No, they're not. They're my acquaintances. As adults, it's so hard to make friends. And the only place that you really have is your work.
Yes.
So I think it's hard to, like, especially if you're somebody that's, like, social, to not want to be their friend.
Yeah.
Especially if they seem nice and stuff like that. But, like, where do you draw the line? If you I don't know. I feel like you kind of have to take it in steps now. Like, first of all, like, just seeing who they are, what's the vibe.
Yeah, who you get more along with, y quien no, and like, okay, see, if you want to take it the next step, like, who are you willing to give your phone number or your social media with, and they're going to respect it, and they're not going to be, like, divulgando toda tu stuff también. But I think como también in my work, lo que yo siento que a veces pasa is, you're spending 8 hours a day with these people, 40 hours a week, and it's como inevitable to not get close. And then there's been times where, like, in my case, like, they will literally lay out their whole life, and I'm like, wow, like, that's, like, first of all, I'm like, well, thank you for trusting me with very sensitive stuff. Pero pienso que también quizás me lo dicen porque saben que I'm not gonna go and be like, oh my gosh, did you know so and so was, like, going through a divorce? Like, I'm just not like that. Pero me dicen tanta, like, todas sus cosas, and yo maybe see it. I've shared some things, pero I'm not the one to, like, decirlo todo en uno. Like, I will do it, like, little increments, and I'm like, okay, that was safe. Okay, let me disclose a little more. But I have walked away from situations that I'm like, dang, I think I shared a little too much, and I probably shouldn't. Y también as I was driving here, I was, still thinking about our topic. Y también pienso que even though you trust that person, a veces no sabes quién más está alrededor that happens to overhear it. And then when that person va y lo divulga with someone else, you don't know who else is around there. And then I feel then before you know it, the whole workplace knows you're, like, getting a divorce. And then, y así pasa. And without you actually wanting it or intending it to. So, so that's why poquito, no más.
I need to do better. Well, I have done better this time that I started this job. There's a person that I clicked with. She's kind of my age. We both don't have kids. Tenemos perros. So, like, and we both play a big role in, like, not raising, but, like, help raising, our younger siblings. And, but there's the other thing. We have, like, our work numbers, right? And we don't share, like, our personal numbers at all, if we need to get a hold of each other. But the other day, I'm like, she was talking about, like, oh, we should go to, like, a spa or something, because I'm like, I'm stressed. She's like, oh, and she was stressed, and then it was, like, my birthday, so we're like, oh, we should go to a spa. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. And, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I would love to go to a spa with somebody that's kind of like my friend.
Yeah.
But I stopped myself because I'm like, ooh, like, right
that's
now.
That's crossing my line. Yeah. Should I?
What would Laura do?
She called me that and said, she's like, okay, Laura. No, I'm just kidding. No, she didn't.
but like, I've taken, and then I got her number, and then I was like, I haven't, like, given, like, we haven't exchanged them, because I'm still like, ooh, like, ya me pasado, like, cosas, and so I'm like, oh, like, she seems like she could be my friend, but at the same time,
I need to meet her. I need to meet her, like, invite her to a little date, and I'm just gonna, like, get her for coffee. Y yo me voy a sentar en la mesita a un lado de ustedes, and like I said, I'm an observer, so I'm gonna be like,
you tell me, Bishki.
And then
no.
Yeah, and then I'll interview her, ask her some of my basic questions, and then I'll let you know if she makes a cut or not.
Can you be my friend? That's it. No, es que a veces I feel like that's what you have to do. Like, it's hard. Yessie and I were talking, and she was talking about reconnecting with, like, people that she's known for a long time, and she's like, I thought we were gonna click, like, when we got together, but she's like, we're just different. We're very different, and it's the same, I think, with work. Like, that's one person that you're meeting. I mean, not that people are fake, because I feel like, like me, I'm pretty me wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I am a little bit different,
You
from
have to.
my personal, because obviously, like at work, you have to be a professional. You have to do certain
Yeah,
things.
you're not going to talk like this to your boss
Yeah,
about like,
yeah.
oh, yeah. So, yeah. No, you have to carry yourself different. Like, you just have to. I know my sisters will say, like, that I'm just, I always joke around. They're like, I cannot imagine you being, like, professional, being a nurse and stuff. But I'm like, I don't know. It's part of, like you're saying, like who you are. Like, I feel like I'm the same, pero yeah, in a work environment, obviously, if you see me, I might be a little different. So doesn't mean you're fake.
Yeah.
So
It just means, you're professional. Hat on. See, porque aquí I'll be like yelling at my dogs, and then like somebody's calling me like, oh, hi, this is Mely. How may I help you?
how may I direct a call? Yeah, let me get you the email.
Don't or proceed with a lot of caution.
Yeah.
Baby steps, like, learn about the people. And it sounds like crazy, to like, to make a friend that way. But if you're thinking about, especially when you get older and you have your kids and you have like your family, like you don't want people like to know too much if they're not good people. And one thing that I've learned, especially if you're in a small town, like a lot of people are related. That's what happened, when I worked at the clinic. I quickly learned that everybody and their mama era prima, tia, sobrina, cuñada. This
Let me see, which city was that in?
Yeah. It was just like crazy, So like even if somebody seems like trustworthy, you might be like, pues, ay, Laura, I don't know, she has ugly shoes today. Puede ser, su prima. And then, allí, even if it's not even like something horrible, like it's going to get around. Like you cannot keep a secret in those scenarios. And if you do not know, because not everybody te va a decir, oh, aquella es mi prima, you know? Y tú ahí de confiada vas and ahí metes la pata. I'm sure I did at some point.
And it doesn't mean like you're not gonna be social or you're just like no vas a hablar de plano con nadie. It's just like what you're kind of going based off what you're saying. Like you just have to be a little bit more cautious about it. I mean, some people mean well and really are good people, pero not everybody. I feel like everybody a veces te presenta una cara y en realidad es otra persona. So until the day I actually make a friend at work, I will come back and we will review this episode and I'll be like, you know what, guys, I actually made a friend and like they're really truly my friend. Pero yeah, I think también the people that I know and that I actually hang out with and actually like have communication is very little también. So but I think that's just what's more safer, and a veces te evitas de tanto extra stuff. I mean, todo el drama, like así no te estás desviviendo, que si te habla o no te habla. I'm just like, okay, I'm in my own little world and I'm happy, and that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, so. Less stress. Yeah, no, see, because I've been in the scenarios that I'm like, with people that I'm like, oh, they're my friend, and like you said, sometimes I feel like I say too much. And then I'm like, I'm like, I should have just not gone into that conversation.
But you know,
like, ¿pa qué?
You know what? Now, isn't that funny? It just came to my mind right now. Here we are diciendo like, oh, be careful. But really, that's how we met. In high school, like, we just started like, I just remember, it was art class. And I don't even know. Like, me gustaría nomás be able to go back in time and just remember like how that conversation even started. But it's just funny that it's taken us, this
where we are now
with all that, just from like that simple conversation. Being here, like I'm just getting deja vu like that. I've done this before, but I was so nervous. I feel a little bit better. I felt like I was in another room just talking, and now I'm like, okay,
I'm back to reality.
I'm gonna be back next week and just.
Yeah, it just is like the recording process. I think it's that, like having the camera, having like, what do I say, what I don't say. But, and once you get to like your real world, your own experience, then it's easier. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, obviously it's kind of like, should I say that? Should I say, shouldn't I? But once you get like comfortable, it's more smooth.
So yeah, I think that's my thing. I think maybe our perspectives weren't that much different. I thought we were, but you're still more.
It's my I
yeah,
think
maybe your
our
experiences versus mine.
Yeah, I think my experience have led me to what what your perspective is of like don't make friends with people at work. I guess I still will say like you can, but
Yeah.
you have to be very, very careful because, and I say it from experience, like it will bite you in the butt. But at the same time, like one of my good friends now is from the place that I worked, and we've gone on walks. Like, I've when her baby was born, yo fui, le llevé, her little gift. Like I've done like things that I feel like real friends would do.
Yeah.
And I'll check in with her. She'll check in with me. So like,
and that's what I was gonna say. But también está poniendo su parte. So it's not
Yeah.
like, well, you guys are just at work, but she's also kind of reaching out to you
Yeah.
outside of work.
Yeah,
So I
now
think
that-
then that's
yeah. And but that wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have opened up to each other.
Yeah.
So like there is that piece like of me that I'm like, no, well, you can meet your friends, but again, I've been burned before. So it's and I've learned my lesson. I think that's the piece that I'm trying to emphasize. Like I've learned my lesson, and I've learned to be more careful. Like I said, con esa persona nueva, that I'm like, ooh, should I go there? Like I don't need another friend per se, but like, we get along. Like she could be, because she likes to travel también. Y a veces no tiene hijos, so I'm like, oh, like that'd be cool. Like, because we had also talked about going to like Canada. Because she's like, oh, I want to go. And
she can just be your travel friend.
Yeah. But, I mean, when you're together, then you talk, you know? Because one thing that popped into my mind when you're like, oh, just normal conversations, even when people are like, oh, what did you do this weekend? Or do you have any special plans? And then things like that. Like, a veces you're not trying to say, but it's easy to be like, oh, my little brother, I'm going to go take my brother to wrestle this weekend. And then ahí te preguntan, oh, he wrestles? Oh, how old is he? And then ni modo que vas a decir, pues ya no te voy a decir.
Yeah.
So then it's like easy to get on that like role of saying stuff that maybe you wouldn't normally say.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I've had any bad experiences yet. I mean, I've only been at this place that I'm at right now for work almost 3 years.
But
So I don't think so. I think most of the experiences have been pretty good, pretty all right.
But I also think the environment, I guess maybe what I think, like the environment that you're in now versus the environment you were in before plays a large role.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think if anybody that's watching is in the medical field, you will be amazed at how much drama there is just amongst nurses and doctors, nurses and everybody else. So, I mean, this work environment for sure was like something completely different for me, completely different. Pero como te digo, I think que me ayuda mucho que simplemente nomás soy más callada. Aunque no lo crean.
Anything you want to add about this topic? Should you befriend your coworkers? And I guess if you all have done so or have one, are swaying one way or the other, let us know in the comments what your experience has been. I feel like I have more stories, but essentially, I mean, I said what I needed to say. Like, I have had some bad experiences, and now I am trying to do better about being careful with what I still divulge a lot, but being more careful about what I say. And I think the big thing too, it's like on social media, you have to, whatever you say to somebody that you don't fully know, you have to kind of keep in mind that could spread and they can share that with whoever. So you have to be comfortable with whatever you're sharing, that you're going to be okay with it. I think that's one thing about me, probably why I share more than I should, is sometimes because like I really sometimes don't care, I'm like, pues si dicen eso de mí, pues ya, like who cares, like,
pues
ya
lo dicen, so
ya lo dicen, yeah, if it's true, it's like, I'm like, maybe I wouldn't share it like by choice, but if they say it, like, it's not gonna affect me really, or if they say like, oh, pues, Mely dijo esto de esta persona, I'd be like, oh yeah, well, if they want to come over, I'll tell them too, like those kind of things. So but I'm different too, so you just have to be careful if that with what you say is that it could be said to somebody else. It could be shared with whoever else, especially if you're talking to somebody you don't really know.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the little conversation that we were discussing, was that whole, like, I was coming in here nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to share my opinion. Y qué tal si, you know, I don't know, I say things that are maybe inappropriate or something. But, yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with everything she said. You just have to be cautious. You just have to be cautious. And really get to know these people before you truly bring them into your life. Because I think your life, your personal space, your home is a sacred place. And no nomás porque you get along well at work or they're friendly to you means that they're always going to be like that with you. So,
yeah. And with that, not to just keep adding, but one thing that just popped in my head is that, you know, we talked about like, oh, this is our version of our work selves, right? And our version of our work selves might be, I mean, I think we're good workers, we're there, you know, and I think we're trustworthy people, but you also have to remember that those people are putting on their face as well when they go to work. So they might seem pinche super duper at work,
super badass.
And then you might want to go hang out with them after work, and it might not be what you expect. So I think that's a important thing to keep in mind, because some people might be who they are, but some people are not, and they might not be the version that you like outside of work. So, and there's a lot of like you have to keep in line with work, so that is like the best version of somebody, I think, you know, because if they're crappy at work, but they're going to be crappy, but you know, they're more than likely going to get the best version of somebody because they're trying to do their good job. So after that, yeah, it's up in the air.
What about me? Am I being pretty much the same since you've known me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
I've been like put on a fake face.
No, not that I can. I mean, maybe I wouldn't
not
say
that
it.
I can say on
not
camera.
that I can say on camera, but you know, ask me a rato. No, I don't think so. I think there's definitely people that I mean, like that old coworker.
Surprised.
Yeah, that you're like, oh my gosh, they were so nice, but like,
or
when they end up being like you said, people that end up talking behind other people's back, or like gente that you're like eso no me there, because there's been people like that I'm like, oh, like I've gone along with them, but something happens, and then you start talking about somebody or whatever, and I'm just like, like me da cara de fuchi yayida. I'm like,
or when you add them on social media, and not to be a creeper, you know, but you like start going through there, and not saying that social media will tell you who they are, but then I'm like, hey, you're kind of publishing or posting these things, and I'm like, what? Okay, I'm like, let's not go into politics, but I'm like, I'm like, really? I like that for me is like, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. We just can't, like, so por eso te digo, mejor no, just be careful. Don't add them to your social media until maybe, let's make like a 5-year rule. Like if you still feel like you're getting along 5 years later, then maybe, you know?
Yeah. So.
And
if you have the issue of maybe people that are like trying to find you, because that's one thing, like my social media is not my full name. It doesn't have a picture. I usually never put a picture of like my face, por la misma razón. I mean, I have like my public stuff that is one thing, but like my personal, like Facebook is my Facebook. And people couldn't add me unless I added them, which I loved. So I think that's a big thing. Like depending on how, I guess, secure you need to be, you can change your name, you know, maybe take some steps. But what I noticed is that once I started adding like one person at the clinic, then people connected the dots, like, oh, this person is friends with this person, then it must be this person, and then I would get requests. Now I don't even have like a picture, and I'll get like requests from like people in town that like guys that I know they're from a certain town, but like they don't really know me. I mean, I don't have a picture.
You know, with me, like, I don't have anybody from my work, but I get them on the suggestions. I'm like, how? Like,
because you're in the same like space.
I think we have like a mutual friend or something. Porque quité the whole like where I'm from, location, so that way they can like, oh yeah, she's from.
Yeah, but I think it's like your geolocation on your phone. So wherever you're connecting, because that happened to me with the gym. You know, I go to the gym, so I think my phone tracks that I'm there a certain amount of time, and so other people are there. So then it started suggesting like on TikTok. Like I would show up on their stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And even on Instagram, I'm like, what? And you know how they say like, oh, it's porque, they've been looking up your Facebook or something. I'm like, But anyways, yeah, no, I'm like, I don't think they know it's me. Maybe they do. And they're like, well, I'm not going to add her because she hasn't added me. And I'm like, well, you know what? Let's keep playing that game. Like, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't really get on social media.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So just be careful out there in the world, in the workplace.
And if you need any advice or you need to rule out if they're really, truly a friend, like, send us a message. Like, give us their profile and we will dig some info. We'll be like, they do seem genuine, or like, no, you need to stay away from this person.
Mm-hmm. You know how they do those Reddit stories? Have you seen those? Yes. I've been wanting to do something like that. Maybe we just need to do like a live and people can tell us their workplace stories, or maybe their success stories. Maybe they have like,
or you just want advice or something.
Yeah,
they can just drop their stuff and then,
because we have stories. I mean, we didn't add it all in here. We just gave you like the general overview, como hacen in the syllabus week. But we do have stories and we do have some things that we could definitely share.
I think it was, you were just testing me. You're like, okay, is she podcast material? We'll see if I pass the test. Because I was pretty nervous. I was like, why does this feel like I'm back in nursing school and they're going to
give me a test?
Yeah, they're going to see if I do this skill correctly or not. I'm like, why am I so like nauseous? I'm like...
Ni te tomaste el café, ni
I didn't even drink anything.
Yeah, if there's topics that you guys want us to cover on the podcast, oiga, ya no puedo platicar.
We're done.
On the podcast, let us know. That it doesn't have a name yet. I haven't named my podcast. I have ideas, but I haven't named it. So it's a no-name podcast for now. Thanks again, for joining me. I appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. For any other hot topics. So yeah, throw your suggestions in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. And hit the notification bell, which I don't know where it's. I should probably know that by now. But somewhere. The subscribe button, notification, hit it, subscribe. Algo allí, vamos a hablar. Doing the robot here. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.